Hey everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're talking Bayou Lafourche, and we're talking freshwater and all the stuff that goes with it. For that, we have Ryan Perque, who is, of course, the executive director of Friends on the Bayou Lafourche. So, man, you got a lot of stuff going on around this bayou, and going back to when the Native Americans lived here, right? That's always been the lifeblood of. When you have a bayou, everybody can eat and drink and do all that kind of stuff. So that never changes. But let's talk about Friends of Bayou Lafourche. And first of all, a big festival.
Yep.
And a great way to do two things, right? You can go to the festival. It's awesome,
Right.
St. Patty's Day. But you can also paddle to the festival, which
Correct.
is also good. So let's talk about this weekend. March 12th is going to be the date, right?
Yep. This Saturday, March 12th. It's been a few years for us since we were kind of the St. Patrick's Day events of 2020 were the first series of events that were canceled when the mandates
Couple
came
days
out.
before,
So
right?
yeah, I mean it was in 2020 we had to cancel this event 18 hours before it was scheduled to take place when the mandates came out. So, we're excited to be back with the event. Based on registrations and promotion responses and all that good stuff, I believe it's going to be our biggest and best year. So, what we've done is we've partnered with BetNep for their annual Paddle by Lafourche event, which take place on the same day. So paddlers will have the option to paddle from Napoleonville or Labodyville down to Thibodaux. And the location that they'll finish in Thibodaux is the location of our St. Patrick's Day on the Bayou event, which is live music, activities for kids, free food, drinks, and then kind of the highlight of the event is our cardboard and duct tape boat race. As of right now, we have 12 teams signed up that have built and are building their cardboard and duct tape boats, which they'll put in the bayou, they'll jump into the boat, and they've got to paddle around a couple obstacles over the course of about 100 yards without sinking. So that's somewhat been the highlight of the event.
That's great. Yeah, we ought to have some kind of dive off the, you see
Right.
Red Bull flies off of the
And
bridge.
when we first started throwing this idea around, was how do we do something unique, something different, something that we don't see around here. And to be honest, you mentioned the Red Bull flying contest, and that's kind of how we transformed into the cardboard and duct tape boat race.
Yeah.
I think we would have caught some flack trying to fly some people off of the Jackson Street
I'm
Bridge.
sure insurance is a lot less.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that we've been able to get insurance coverage for that. Red Bull has a little bit more money than we do.
So they build the boats now, or they have to build them on site?
They can bring their boats. There's some restrictions, and so we have all this on our website bylafourche.org that they can sign up for. So it's free for the cardboard and duct tape boats to enter. We want to see as much participation in this as possible. So they build the boats, and their paddles have to be built out of cardboard and duct tape. 2018, 2019, we didn't have any sink. They had a couple get close.
Right.
But, the crowd is secretly hoping to see a boat go
absolutely.
down. So, obviously
Make sure you can swim.
they're in life jackets. We've got motorized support boats nearby in case there's a rescue required. But it's going to be exciting, and that's by far the most boats that we've had.
I'm interested in the paddle down too. So one of them, that'd be about 4 miles from Labodyville, and probably another 15 or 20.
Napoleonville is around 14 miles. So there's two separate launch sites that they'll be able to use, and we've got all the information again listed on the website bylafourche.org. But there's also transportation. So if they want to park their vehicle in downtown Thibodaux near the festival area, a bus will bring them to the launch site. That way, when they finish the paddle trip, they're back at their vehicle. So the Napoleonville launch site is at the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District's control structure near the 1010 Bridge. And so that's about a 14-mile paddle trip. If you're looking to do a little bit less, around the 8-mile paddle mark, there's also a site in Labodyville that they can launch from.
That's awesome. What about the flow? You get enough flow that you have like a tailwind, so
Right.
to speak, when you're coming down, right?
Right, and so we've been monitoring that a little bit with the pump station and the projected forecast, and there's going to be, so in addition to the current that's there, they're going to have a wind at their back Saturday morning, so that it shouldn't be much of an issue for them to paddle down. And Bayou Lafourche, a lot of people traveling along it or crossing it on a bridge, oftentimes they don't realize the current in there until they are paddling, or if they're in a boat and they're trying to anchor or trying to pick up a jug line, whatever it may be. That's when they realize the amount of current.
This is a big weekend. Let's touch a little bit about when and where we can get to the St. Patty's Day Festival.
Sure.
On the 12th, not the 17th.
Yeah, this coming Saturday on the 12th is our St. Patrick's Day on the Bayou event. The festival takes place in downtown Thibodaux. We block off LA1 and a few of the associated streets where we have our live music, our food vendors, our bands, and all that good stuff. So the gates will open to the public at 2. We'll have live music by Russ Jeremy from 2 to 4. 4 o'clock, we have our cardboard and duct tape boat races, which will take about an hour or so. And then Shorts in December is going to be our main band. That's going to play immediately after the cardboard boat races. So in between that, we have food vendors out there providing free food to those that enter with the $10 entry, and the bar rooms will be taking care of the alcohol sales. So as long as you're within the festival boundaries, you can have an open container.
Nice.
Any additional information can be found on our website at bayouLafourche.org and our social media outlets.
Yeah, no, it's great. And you had to call it off. Probably the Utah Jazz's player got sick 2 years ago, and you had to call it off like a day before.
Right.
It happened 2 years. So it's been 3 years.
The last one was in 2019.
Yeah, so it's awesome. We talked a little bit about Bayou Lafourche, and look, that's how my ancestors got here, right? They were barrel makers. They ended up from Ireland. They made barrels for shrimp and seafood, right? So they ended up in Bayou Lafourche. They live right off of LA1. This Bayou Lafourche has been a lifeblood for so many people. You were saying 106 miles, 3 parishes. What can we do to make sure that this resource stays the jewel that it is?
A great question, and that's one that we get quite often, and you touched on that. Is Bayou Lafourche is the whole reason that we're here. It was not only a source of water from a life sustainability standpoint, but also transportation that it was used for many years ago and still to this day. I could talk about this for hours and do sometimes, but long story short, the bayou was levied off from the Mississippi River around 1903, 1904. And while it needed to be done in order to prevent those spring floods that flooded our region for many, many years, it cut off the flow. And we've seen the impacts of that to the wetlands of Lower Lafourche and Lower Terrebonne. So we fast forward to the 1950s when the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District is formed, and they build their pump station. At that point, they can start pumping water into Bayou Lafourche. But over the course of the last century, the bayou has silted in, railroad bridges have been built, and so the Freshwater District has adopted and is in the process of implementing a series of projects called the Mississippi Reintroduction to Bayou Lafourche. And so that's been the installation of water control structures, the removal of the Thibodaux Weir, the replacement of the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge in Donaldsonville, and dredging projects that have been completed. And so those projects have essentially opened the bayou. Where they're at now is the new pump station to be constructed at the head of Bayou Lafourche on the Mississippi River. Right now, best case scenario, we're pumping about 400 cubic feet per second. The new pump station is going to have the ability to do 1,000 cubic feet per second. Now, the day that it's completed, it won't be able to turned on full capacity, but we'll be able to better operate the water control structures of Bayou Lafourche, which allows the district to continue the dredging projects and slowly increase that water. So what do we need this water for? First and foremost, as a source of drinking water. West Ascension, Assumption, Lafourche, and Terrebonne parishes, 300,000 people across those 3.5 parishes rely on Bayou Lafourche as their source of drinking water. So we've got to secure it as our drinking water source. And secondly, and just as important, is that needed fresh water to be sent to the lower parts of Lafourche and Terrebonne Parish. In its simplest form, coastal restoration is about pushing more fresh water out than that's coming in.
Saltwater intrusion.
And so we see many diversions across the state where they're pumping fresh water and sediment to areas that are adjacent to the river. we're at a disadvantage here simply because we're 60, 70, 80 miles away from the river and the areas that need to be restored. Our best option there is Bayou Lafourche, and that's what's being done. And so through the work that the Freshwater District has done, Friends of Bayou Lafourche is able to work on recreational enhancements, parks, launches, docks, facilities along the bayou, such as the one that we just finished a few months back in front of Nicholls State University, where we've got a parking lot, boardwalk, floating dock pavilion. Just installed a new boardwalk and floating dock in downtown Thibodaux. Middle of this year, we have several more coming out for Napoleonville, a new motorized boat launch, and Raceland. So it's going to be a busy year. A lot of the time that we've been putting in over the last few years with paperwork and funding and permitting is finally moving to construction this year.
I think people love to get out and do recreational things, right? I know when they have a kayak rodeo down in Leeville,
Right.
there's 300 boats, so a lot of people like to do that kind of stuff. Be a great way to do exercise instead of running on the track somewhere.
You're right.
Getting a bayou.
You're right. And so, we saw when COVID hit and everybody was kind of in lockdown, a lot of people were using Bayou Lafourche to get out. They were going to launch the boat. They were going to launch the kayak because they really want many places to go. So if anything, it allowed us to gauge where and what we needed more of.
Right. And look, an awareness, right?
Right.
What a big thing it is to have more people going up and down that, the better. If you just throw some riprap behind your house and kind of let it overgrow with
Right.
trees, you don't even know it's there anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody just lets it go. And we need to do that with all our waterways and take care of it and make sure that fresh water stays there. So, Ryan, appreciate it, man. Hopefully we have good weather. Hopefully you have a good time.
Right.
Nobody sinks. We're looking forward to it. Thank you, man, for
Thank
being
you.
here. All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.